Hello everyone, welcome to the Cobb Tire YouTube channel. I'm Rich Cobb, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the difference between patching tires and plugging tires. So come on up and let's take a look. Okay, so what you've got here is the tools of the trade. This is everything required in correctly patching a tire, and then this is everything required in plugging a tire. Really the biggest difference between the two, this is a lot quicker, this takes more time, but is a lot more thorough. Okay, so the tools of the trade when it comes to patching, you're looking at right here, you're going to have your chalk. When the vehicle comes in with a leaking tire, you're going to want to mark where the puncture area is. Once we have that area, we're going to take the drill, we're going to drill the hole out a little bit larger. When we break the tire down, we're going to use this tool to buff the inside. Once it's been buffed, we're then going to apply our cold vulcanizing glue. And then we're going to be utilizing our patch. We'll go over that. When the patch has been correctly installed into the tire, you'll then use a stitching tool to stitch that. Okay, now moving over to plugging. You can see not as many tools. These are the tools of the trade for plugging. So basically, when plugging, you're going to want to mark where the puncture area is. You're going to grab one of your plugs out of here. You're going to utilize this tool, run the plug through it, jam that plug into the tire, and then you're going to be using cutters to cut the excess material off the plug, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so now you've seen the tools of the trade for both ways of fixing tires. Here at Cobb Tire, this is the recommendation that we have for correctly repairing tires. Biggest reason we like this, it's more thorough, and I can give you a lifetime guarantee that the puncture is going to hold up. I don't have as much confidence when it comes to plugging, so you will not get a tire plugged here at Cobb Tire. So now, let's head out to the shop and let's patch a tire. Okay, so we've got the tire off the car, and as you can see, the sheet metal screw that's punctured the tire, this is the reason for this tire leaking down. Okay, so we've got the tire off the wheel now. We're going to go ahead and start the patching process, which is going to occur over here on the tire spreader. First thing we're going to want to do is mark this area. Once we pull this screw out, a lot of times it can be hard to find. So we've got the area marked. Get it over here now. Let's see if we can get this screw out. Be difficult at times. It's a tough one. All right, now we've got it out. Now we're going to drill this hole a little bit so the plug on our patch will fit through it. Don't get confused, we're not plugging this tire, but our patches have a plug on it. The plug is designed to fit into the hole, fill the void so we don't have water that can intrude through the hole and get into the steel belt area and start rusting. So let's go ahead and drill this hole out. Okay, and that's it on that. Let's get it up on the stand. Get everything set up. Okay, so we've got the tire set up on the spreading machine to begin the patching process. There's one thing that we're going to want to do before we get started on this, and this is just visually inspect the inside of the tire. Now there's one thing I want to touch on here. The reason why I believe that patching is so much better than plugging is when you plug a tire, a lot of times you don't take the tire off the wheel to inspect what's going on inside. When you patch a tire, you do. So there's a few things we're looking for here. Number one, as I'm looking in, I want to make sure that the sidewall's not starting to come apart. And the biggest thing is, if I look in here and see a lot of black powder, that's black carbon. Why is that in there? Well, that just basically means that the tire was running too long, low on air. So this is why I think patching is so much better. And I think dealing with leaking tires is very important, because if you drive this tire too long, low on air, and we've all seen squatty tires on cars when we're driving around on the roads, what's really happening is, yeah, that tire's low, but the temperature is building up inside. And it's building, and as you continue to drive on that tire, the temperature will reach such a point that you have a total failure, and we never want this. This tire was run too long, low on air. The individual didn't know he had a leak, and eventually this tire just completely blew out. So whenever we're patching, I'm going to look inside to make sure that there's no damage done from the stresses of temperature, of high temperatures, of heat. This tire looks good, so let's begin the patching process. Okay, so we've got the tire up, we're getting ready to patch. You can see we have found the punctured area right there. I'm just going to real quickly take a piece of chalk and just kind of mark so I don't ever lose this. As I start buffing, there's a chance I might not be able to see that hole. I can use my 4 marks as guidance. First thing we're going to do is start buffing the area. We want to be careful not to buff into the cord. If we buff into the cord, then it'll be a little more difficult getting this glue and patch to stick. So I always say, use the touch of a dentist when you're grinding that area. So, all right, we've got the area ground. We're going to take a brass brush, which does not counteract with the rubber. And we're just going to kind of brush everything away. Looking like I want to buff just a little more here. That looks good. Brush that away. Now we're going to be putting our cold vulcanizing glue on. So back in the olden days, we used to put glue on, light it with a lighter. It would get hot and vulcanize. Nowadays we use coal. You don't have to worry about that. So we're going to take a little bit of this glue and we're just going to kind of dab it into the rubber. Rubber's porous, so we want to get that glue in those pores. Just get it really dabbed in there. Alright, that whole area is glued. Now we're going to let this thing sit for about 2 minutes and dry. We'll get back to you here in just a second. Okay, so the glue is dried on the tire, and now the next step is going to be installing this patch. So we're going to be using, right now, these 2 items. We're going to take our patch. We want to put just a little bit of glue on the end of it so it slides through our hole here. Okay. We're going to be utilizing this to pull it through. So let's get this thing started through our hole. And I'm going to reach through down here. Pull it tight. Make sure it's pressed down real tight. All right, patch is installed, plug's going through the hole. Next step, we're going to want to stitch this patch down as hard as we can so it vulcanizes to the tire. And we're just going to stitch back and forth. So I'm pushing down really hard here. All right, that's pretty good. All right, the next step is going to be just putting a little protectant on there. So we've buffed this inner liner. And like I said, rubber is porous, so sometimes you buff too far into it, there's a chance air is going to leak through the tire. So this is just kind of a finishing piece that we're going to do this flat repair, and we're just going to kind of paint this inner liner back on so it looks good. Alright. Alright, that is pretty much it. The final steps is going to be right under the tire here. cut that piece off. Okay, next step's going to be putting the tire back on the wheel. We're going to air it up real quick and make sure that it's holding air. Make sure we don't have a leak there. So we're going to check that before we put it back on the car. Okay, so that's got the tire mounted back on the wheel. Let's check it real quick, make sure it's not leaking. Everything looks good. Now let's put it on the balancer real quick, make sure the balance is still good. Okay, so now we're going to drop the car down real quick and torque the lug nuts. Make sure that's done, then we'll put the hubcap on and we're finished. Okay, that's it. So we finished up with the flat repair. Let's go ahead and back this car out and we'll wrap it up. Okay, that's a wrap. I appreciate everybody hanging around to watch this video, and hopefully you have a better understanding of the difference between patching tires and plugging tires. You know, and it turns out the vehicle that we were working on is part of the fleet of our loaner cars that we provide for our customers. We do that so it just kind of lessens the blow when you're dropping a car off to have it worked on. Know that we have loaner cars for you as well. So again, I appreciate your time. Okay, and I'd like to introduce my son Cody. He's the videographer and the editor of this and the coming videos. So without further ado.
What's up, guys? I'm Cody. I'm the one going to be filming the videos behind the camera a lot. If you want to go hit up our Facebook, follow it. It'll be right there. Go ahead, check it out. And yeah, make sure you like and smash that subscribe button. Get ready for next week's video.